Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for our 2019 Ask the Expert Summit webinar series. My name is Joe Clower, and I am part of the member experience team here at the Exit Planning Institute. And I am joined here today by our presenter, Ken Burrow, with Quist Valuation. Ken will be talking on the topic, Success Happens When Preparation Meets Opportunity. So before I turn the mic over to Ken today, there's a few notes I wanted to go over with you all. So the Ask the Expert Summit webinar series was created to give an opportunity for our sponsors and speakers of the summit to come on and talk about who they are and what they do. I'd just like to take this chance to thank Ken and his team for becoming a sponsor for this year's summit and being so involved in our EPI community. We are excited for the summit this year and hope that everybody on this call can attend. The summit is held in San Antonio this year from September 23rd through the 25th. And for more information on the summit, you can go to exitplanningsummit.com, or you can give me or my colleague, Drew English, a call here at EPI, and we'd be happy to help you out. So the summit is the Super Bowl for exit planning advisors and contains the best content taught by top experts in the marketplace. It brings together 200 of our top CEPAs combined with leading advisors, thought leaders, and partners within this exit planning space. We all here at EPI love this event and hope you all can join. So for today's call, this webinar is being recorded, and I will send out the recording to all of you after this call concludes. So please be on the lookout for an email from myself with a link that you can download and save the recording. Also, there is a drop-down, or there's a question box in the drop-down menu of the GoToWebinar panel on the right hand of your screen. We want these webinars to be very interactive. So any questions, comments, or feedback you have for our speaker, Ken, please make sure to type those in and I can facilitate those over to him. So speaking of Ken, Ken has recently joined the Quist team in January with the purpose of promoting and expanding the use of Quist Insights, a newly released SaaS software application. So prior to joining Quist, Ken has held sales management, as well as senior management roles in both public and private high-tech companies, including SAP-based and business objectives, DataWatch, NewView Systems, and IQ Navigator. He brings extensive success and experience in both building direct and indirect sales channels for experienced SaaS and software license products, as well as payroll and compliance services. He has managed both startup and large corporate organizations, brings international experience in both Europe and Asia, and has sales and management experience in multiple markets, including business intelligence, human capital, and workforce management, identity management, and contingent labor. So with all of that, I will go ahead and turn the mic over to Ken, and he can dive into the topic today.
Joe, thanks very much, and good morning to everybody. At least it's morning still for me. I'm located in Denver, Colorado, so we're Mountain Standard Time, and welcome you to today's webinar. I'm going to just add a few comments to Joe's about Quist, and just to start you off, Quist Valuation is an independent Colorado-based valuation firm. We were founded in 1984, so we've been around for about 35 years now and are recognized as one of the nation's leading providers for valuation and security analysis services. Late last year, we introduced a brand new product that we've been working on, and it's a unique SaaS valuation platform called Quist Insights, and that's what I'll be talking about today. And the purpose of the software is to enable business owners to, as you can read, assess the current and future value of their businesses, as well as determine the market attractiveness of their business for sale. So I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to introduce you to the software platform Quist Insights, and my intent is really to show you how the application is going to potentially change the game for you as exit planners and really allow you to take advantage of what we see as just a huge opportunity in the small business environment. And you see the title that I've used for the presentation. It's Success Happens When Preparation Meets Opportunity. And we believe that the opportunity for exit planning is here. And our question to you is, are you really ready to take advantage of it? So let's talk a little bit about what the opportunity is. And I'm going to really talk about three important sets of numbers that kind of define this opportunity. And this is based on a study that was done by the Bird's Eye Advisory Group earlier this year. And according to their analysis, they believe that upwards of 4 million baby boomers who own small businesses are going to be seeking to exit their businesses and retire between now and 2025. And the amount of assets that are going to be moved are just staggering. They expect some $10 trillion worth of assets to either be bequeathed or sold during that time frame. So that's the first important set of numbers to think about. The second one is that the business demographics are not going to necessarily be conducive to those that are selling their business. And by that, I mean that buyers of the business, so Gen Xers, millennials, and other baby boomers, the numbers of the buyers are actually going to be below the number of sellers by almost 11%. And that dislocation is expected to continue for the next 10 to 15 years. And then the last number I'm going to cite from the study is the fact that virtually 80% of the boomers that are going to sell their businesses or exit from their businesses and seek to retire, the proceeds from the sales of these businesses are expected to fund their retirements. So for them, it's very important that they get maximum amount of value as they exit the business. And so they're very dependent on getting everything correct. So what that ends up saying, I think, from the opportunities perspective, is the number of transactions is going to be huge. The market dynamics say that there is going to be a significant need for planning, and there's going to be a high degree and a sense of urgency to actually get engaged in the planning process so that you're in control of it. Now, while the opportunity says one thing, business owners really don't seem to be preparing. And this is a second study that we looked at, which has been done by UBS. They've been following these businesses for the last 6 or 7 years, and they do it on a quarterly basis. And according to their surveys, they find that 50% of small businesses don't have any exit plans. 75% of business owners really don't understand the selling process. And then finally, 60% of their businesses have never been appraised, so they don't even know what the business is really worth. And so one of the big questions that as you look at the marketplace is what's holding business owners back? And I'm going to talk about 4 reasons that we believe prevent owners from really engaging in the planning process, and then bring you back to Quist Insights and how we can help. So the first reason is really the owners themselves, and they can often be their own worst enemies. We characterize them as kind of being sometimes penny wise and pound foolish, and you can take a look at the list of reasons as to why they kind of don't engage in the planning process, and you can characterize them as being cheap and not wanting to spend money. They've got strong attachments to their business from an emotional perspective. They say it's too time consuming, too much effort, I'm too busy working in my business. They may not tell you this, but they often don't know how to start or where to start. They don't know what they want, and they don't want anybody intruding and taking time away from them running their business. So the bottom line is that this group is really tough to deal with, and establishing and building trust is really hard. Now, while business owners don't necessarily help themselves, the market hasn't either. And we find that the information they need to determine whether or not their business is really ready for sale, it's often lacking. And when a business owner sits down and thinks about exiting their business, there's a couple of basic questions that they're really interested in. What's my business worth? What could it be worth? Does my business have curb appeal? Are there going to be buyers out there that are going to be interested in taking advantage and buying my business? And is my business ready for sale? And if it's not today, when will it be ready? And there are lots of folks that provide services to these small businesses, and I think you're all aware of them, and that they range from outsourced CFOs to HR services, accountants, tax planning specialists, wealth managers, legal folks. All of those folks provide services to these small businesses, but they tend to stay in their own lanes, and they really don't go into and help the business owners with exit planning very much. And so unfortunately, from an exit planning perspective, the services available to small business owners is pretty limited. And you add to that the fact that investment bankers, who typically are involved in the selling and buying of businesses as well as investing, they don't really engage in this end of the market. They're more interested in much larger organizations where they can make much more money. So they're not active in the lower end of the marketplace. And you do find that there are business brokers who are actively involved and engaged in helping business owners sell their businesses, but they're more often than not interested in the transaction and the potential commissions, not so much in trying to help the business owner out and spending 2 or 3 years preparing their business for actual sale and making sure that they maximize the value and then the money that for proceeds. And then the final issue ends up being that sale comps are very difficult to get, particularly for private sales. Information is just not readily available, and it takes an awful lot of effort to get a hold of it. The third reason we find that business owners tend to avoid the issue is that there's often odds between owner expectations about the sales process and the sales process itself, particularly when you start to talk about valuation issues. And once a business owner decides to actually engage in selling their business, one of the first things that is going to be asked of them is to go get an independent valuation. And from the owner's perspective, this really is kind of an eyebrow-raising exercise. First of all, it can be pretty expensive. The amount for a valuation can run anywhere from $10,000 to as much as $20,000. From a planning perspective, it's really, in our opinion, overkill. And while a full valuation can get the value of the business down to the penny, from a planning perspective, that's not really what the business owner is looking for. They just want a good, solid, accurate idea of what the business is worth, and more importantly, what it potentially could be worth. And the traditional valuation process doesn't provide that information. You add to that the fact that it takes an awful long time to generate the valuation number. It can be anywhere from 6 to 8 or more weeks to get the work done. It really doesn't help the business owner answer the question of whether the business is in a marketable position or not. It just will affix a value to the business. And then finally, it forces them to take away time from actually managing their business. So business owners often balk at doing a valuation. The final issue that we find that hinders small business owners is actually software itself. And there have been multiple software solutions that have been put out in the market and they exist today, but we find that the existing software solutions have some limitations. And that's because they tend to go down one of two tracks. On one hand, the software solutions will focus on the qualitative aspects of the business. So some of the softer characteristics that drive a business and are certainly important. And so they will focus on how to improve the qualitative factors and get your business ready for sale. But the thing that those qualitative software solutions don't provide is any kind of valuation, either in the current state or what the business could be worth. On the other hand, those software solutions that focus totally on a quantitative approach are only looking at numbers. And while numbers are certainly important, it's the totality of the quantitative as well as the qualitative that really drive the overall value of the business. So they're lacking on their side as well. So their approaches really don't simultaneously address the valuation and the market readiness question. So Quist Insights really, we believe, is going to change the game for you as exit planners. And first of all, we address the owner's needs and we do so on their terms. So we have put together a solution that really meets their budget expectations. It's got low initial costs and it really enables kind of an incremental approach. So it speaks to their cash flow requirements and the fact that they really don't want to spend a whole lot of money at any one particular time. It will allow for a compelling conversation to really get you the ability to focus on the retirement issue, which I think for the small business owner is the number one issue to ensure that they maximize the amount of proceeds that they walk away with, because again, they're going to be dependent on those proceeds for the next 20 to potentially 30 years. It eliminates the process surprises, so you've got a single source that provides the necessary answers so that you can begin the planning process and really get it going. It provides a complete picture, so by looking at the quantitative and qualitative aspects, we provide information about valuation as well as the market readiness for sale. It's very simple and intuitive and easy to use. A client will sit down and answer 65 questions, and in fairly short order, so in less than an hour, they've got answers to their business in terms of what it's worth, what it potentially could be worth, and how to go about and significantly add value to the business. And it really puts them in control. The assessment tool is set up so that you can start it, you can stop it, you can come back to it and pick up from where you left off. You won't have to start over again. It's a planning tool because it's a subscription service that goes over the course of the year and has unlimited usage. It's very powerful in terms of being able to play what-if games. So you can vary revenue growth rates, you can play around with expense ratios, and so it really is a powerful tool to help you understand what your business potentially could look like under several different scenarios. And then the final thing is that it really takes opinion off of the table from the worth of the business. And so no longer is it just conversation over cocktails or at the bar about what your buddy sold his business for and how does that relate to my business, or the other one is simple rules of thumb in terms of multiples. We really give you a fact-based picture, and owners appreciate that. From the exit planner's perspective, we will significantly enhance the exit planning process and your overall business. So it's easy to position. It gives you a compelling reason to really go to business owners and get them to start the planning process, which in turn builds client trust, which is really important for these small business owners. The great thing about the tool is it's predictable. Because it's simple to use and it is all-encompassing and comprehensive, it will allow you to walk in and make a pitch to a client and again, in short order, determine whether or not that client is going to move ahead or not. Very important in terms of helping you to build your pipeline and measure probabilities of whether or not the client business will actually close. With that predictability then comes scalability, and it allows you to move your business ahead much quicker, and it inserts productivity into the model. And the good thing about it is once you get the process started and you develop the initial relationship, what we find is that there is additional revenue that results from consulting revenues that results from the fact that you have to put together a plan after the initial assessment, and they will keep you engaged in the business, and it will help out with client retention. It certainly is going to improve your competitiveness in the marketplace, so it's going to give you a differentiator relative to other folks that do the same kinds of things. And then the last element is it's going to drive profitability, and that's because the software has a fixed price to it, and so the more clients that you can run through the business, obviously the more money you're going to be able to make. So what I've done is, and this has been in conjunction with a couple of our existing partners, I've put together a couple of scenarios to help you understand the ROIs that you could potentially earn using the Quist Insights platform. And I've got ROIs for both the exit planner and so from the business side as well as from the client side. So let me walk you through some of the assumptions I've got here. And again, let's start with the exit planner. So the 1-year site license cost, and this is for unlimited usage, would be a fixed fee of $5,000. So you can use the site license and sell it to as many clients as you would like to. The assumptions that we've made is that this will enable you to have new customer acquisitions, and we've determined that you could bring on a minimum of 6 new clients, and you can actually go back and talk to your existing or former clients with the tool and help them out from a valuation perspective. And we find that our partners are really positioning the solution with their clients and charging them anywhere from $1,500 to as much as $2,500 for each client implementation. And that would involve the 1-year software license fee for unlimited use. And they will typically add some consulting services to help out with the assessment and the planning process to kick the engagement off. So you can see that when you take the 9 new acquisitions between new and existing customers, multiply it times the solution fee of $1,500, you're driving a little less than $14,000 in new revenue. With the additional consulting services, which we only apply to the new customers that came on board at $3,000 per client, you've got potentially another $18,000. There's a benefit, we believe, of 10% for client retention. So the total revenue, just a little bit below $35,000 that's generated on an investment of $5,000, which is going to give you a return on investment of almost 7 times. And again, based on conversations with the partners that we have, they felt that these were fairly conservative numbers. And so the return on investment from the exit planner side could be much higher. When you take a look at the client side, you've got similar kinds of returns. And what we did is we took what is a fairly conservative average small business valuation of about $750,000. And with the tool, we've imputed a 4% value improvement over a 2-year period. So you've got a compound rate of a little over 8% growth in value, which equates to adding value of almost $60,000, in excess of $60,000 to the business against the investment in the software and the consulting services. Again, for the client, they're going to see a pretty substantial return of almost 7 times. And that's a really compelling argument when you, again, talking about the fact that their most important issue is the amount of money that they're going to want to put into their retirement funding, and they expect that to come from the business. So this is a way of adding substantial amounts to their coffers. So how do we do it, and what's our approach, and what makes us different? Well, again, it's a SaaS solution. We've got a 1-year subscription with unlimited usage. It is sold on a client basis. Now the client can have as many users within the customer as they want to. So what we find is that clients will often use it with senior management and let them all use and take the assessment and compare results and use it for a 360 assessment of the management team. We take a look at 6 quantitative and qualitative factors that drive value within a business. And this is based on our 35 years worth of experience of having done valuations and thousands of projects. We take a look at the strategic elements that factor into the business, your organizational structure, your employee makeup, the customers and your concentration of customers and the kind of customers that you work with. We obviously take a look at the financial numbers. And then we're also taking a look at environmental, social, and particularly the governance issues. So do you have systems in place to help manage the business? I think I've mentioned this, that the system is easy to use. The client answers 65 questions and they have their answers and an assessment within an hour. So they can really begin the planning process right out of the gate and get going and use the exit planner can get actively involved in developing a plan to help them improve their business valuation. And we provide a comprehensive assessment of the business. So we're looking at the strengths, the weaknesses, and the overall market readiness, which is, as I've mentioned, that's what business owners truly want to understand with regard to the business as they're trying to exit it. So in addition to the assessment of the drivers of the value, we're generating an estimated range of current as well as potential value, and will produce actionable recommendations that will help the business increase its value. You can see that value gap between what the current value is with the potential value, and our recommendations help you get to the higher number. And it answers what I, as a business owner, need to do and when I'll be really ready to sell. And again, based on 35 years worth of valuation experience and us having done thousands and thousands of projects. As I kind of move toward the end of the webinar here, I'm going to take you through a case study. This is a local partner that we have that's a wealth manager who uses Quist Insights as part of their business. I think well, I won't mention any names of either the client or the wealth manager. I think you'll relate to the business and what's going on here. So let me drop into and give you an overview of the client. It was a husband and wife team. It's a physical therapy business. They also have Pilates exercises that they offer as well as massage services. They've been running it for 25 years, very profitable. They've got a very strong customer base. In fact, the customer base is multi-generations in dimensions. So if parents started going there, they have clients where they're actually kids are going as well. So very strong customer base. It's just that they've been running the business for 25 years and they were tired and ready to move on and move into retirement. Now, as they thought about that and came to that realization, it was kind of interesting because it actually was almost easier to run the business than it was to think about exiting. And one of the things that they had to deal with was the fact that this was going to be a third-party sale. There really were no heirs or internal employees to engage with regard to the business, so it was going to get sold to an outside party. And what the couple came to realize was that they really had never done any exit planning. They had no sense of what the business was actually worth. They did know that the proceeds from the sale of the business were going to fund their retirement. And so they had to make sure, they wanted to make sure that they really got the number right. And so part of their questioning was, is there a way to improve or increase the value of the business? They did have friends that had worked with brokers, but they weren't sure that that was the way that they actually wanted to go right out of the gate. They really didn't understand the sales process, and they never had engaged an advisor in their business. The one thing that they really did recognize was that they couldn't make a mistake. They didn't want to make a mistake. And so fortunately for them, they got introduced to the wealth manager, as I mentioned, who's a partner of Quist Insights. So the proposal that the wealth manager made to the client was really to use the Quist Insights tool, and that would give them a couple of pieces of important information. So it would, for planning purposes, give them an initial sense of what the business was worth and what it potentially could be worth. And it would assess the business readiness and, again, take a look at those factors, formal factors that really drive value of a business. And it would help out with determining when would be the optimum time for sale of the business. As far as the role of the wealth manager, they were going to help the client develop and manage the business sale plan. And then they also were going to get involved and manage the client's retirement portfolio once they exited the business. And the fees that they proposed to the client, they divided them up into two different categories. So they charged $2,000 for the use of the software and then the development of the exit plan. They broke the $2,000 fee and charged them $500 a quarter for the first year. And then they agreed to the fact that they would manage the portfolio with the proceeds at 1% annually based on the assets that the portfolio had. So the outcome, and this is after they ran through the Quist Insights platform, these are some of the answers that they got. It was established that the current value range was just about $1 million, so kind of a range of $900,000 to $1.1 million, midpoint being $1 million. The big eye opener to the client was the fact that based on the value factors and what could be done to the business, they could potentially increase it by 20%. So they could take the value of the business much closer to 1.2 million, if not higher. The assessment did reinforce the fact that the strongest valuation driver in their business, and I don't think this was any surprise to anybody looking at the business, it was their customer base. So they wanted to make sure that stayed in place. But the thing that the assessment really highlighted was that there were 3 strong recommendations that could be utilized to help build the value and get to that higher potential value number. One was to have them work on their organizational structure and really work on the delegation of responsibilities and the authority levels of the business. And this was going to be important as the business gets sold and you talk to buyers by increasing the delegation of responsibilities and spreading out authority. New buyers were not going to see the business collapse with the exit of the current owners. The second recommendation was to take a look at employee compensation and link compensation to actual company performance. And what that is going to do is make a tighter bond between employees and the business. And again, from a buyer's perspective, that's a good thing because employees then will tend to stay with the business and not have it implode and have to have the employees replaced with folks are going to have to come up the learning curve. And then the last recommendation that they focused in on was improving their financials and managing their working capital in a better fashion. And so what this did for the client, aside from the recommendations and how to improve the value of the business, it provided some really valuable information and gave them a very different perspective on what actually drove value within the business and theirs in particular. and it set them up well to start the negotiations with the business broker. So they really came at it from a position of strength. They understood the strengths and potential weaknesses of their business. They understood what it was worth, and that was going to be very important in terms of negotiating commission rates and making that actually work for them. So they're coming at it from the position of strength, and that's a good thing. And the other thing that it really did is because the assessment showed that they could increase the value of their business by almost 20%, which would in turn be moved over into their retirement portfolio. It provided a tremendous amount of new energy for this couple to actually implement the plan, which they felt was going to take 2 years to get it to a point where it was ready to go. But they were really ready to do that and felt that it was very much worth it. So again, last page, and this will be kind of a key summary and takeaways for you as a result of this webinar. One is that there's just no doubt that there's a huge opportunity for the exit planning community. We think the time for action is now, and that's driven by both the market dynamics that are going on and just the sense of urgency to get engaged and in front of these business owners and get them to see the importance of starting the planning process. One interesting dynamic that we find as we take a look at the market is really no one's cracked the solution code. So there is still a lot of room to get the right sort of equation as to how to work with business owners. We think that with our solution, you're going to be able to do that, and we believe that Quist Insights really is a game changer. It addresses the owner issues in terms that they understand, and it will definitely strengthen the hand of you as exit planners. You got a comprehensive one-stop offering. It introduces a repeatable process, which is in turn going to allow you to scale your business. And the good thing for both you and your clients is that we'll generate high ROIs with proven results. So if you're interested in learning more about our solution, we certainly look forward to seeing you at the summit meeting in September. And I will be there, as well as the president of the company, Shaina Culverson, so we can have some deeper conversations. We also will have demo capabilities of the product. So again, we encourage you to stop by and see us at the summit. We're going to host a happy hour Monday evening in the hotel, so we would invite you to attend that. And then you've got my contact information and both an email, and that's a cell phone number that you can contact me directly. I would certainly encourage you to check out our website at www.quistinsights.com. And then there's also a short YouTube video that'll give you an overview of the solution. And with that, Joe, I'm done, and I thank everybody for their time, and I would now open it up to questions.
Hey, Ken, thank you for that presentation. I'll give it another minute here. It doesn't seem like there's any questions in quite yet. So we'll give it about a minute, and then if there is no questions, then we will just end it. But if you guys do have questions that you aren't going to ask on here, obviously reach out to Ken. His contact information is there, and I will also put Ken's contact information in the follow-up email with this webinar recording as well. All right, Ken, well, it looks like there's no questions coming through.
Okay.
Did you want to end with any final thoughts, or?
No, I think I just, again, appreciate everybody attendance today, and we're really looking forward and very excited to attend the summit meeting next month. And as my wife said to me, you know, we began this conversation, I think, back in April, and it seemed like it was a long way off, and yet we're almost there. So again, we're excited about attending and looking forward to meeting folks. Awesome.
Perfect, Ken. Thank you for talking us through this topic today, and thanks for being part of the summit this year. Again, everybody, the summit takes place September 23rd through the 25th. For more information, you can visit exitplanningsummit.com or give us a call here at EPI Global. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Ken, thanks again, and hope to talk to you all soon and see you all at the summit.
All right, thank you.
Yep, take care.